Okay, we're about to get started. Are we gonna get a signal when we're ready to go live? Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Garrett, would you lead us in prayer?
We, the members of the Broussard City Council, beg of thee, Almighty God, to enlighten our minds so that our work will be just and fair in all things. Give us the courage and strength to fulfill our duties according to the laws of the land, and fulfilling also thy holy will on earth and in heaven, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
All right, we'll call our meeting to order. Item 2.1, acceptance of minutes of the June 23rd, 2020 public hearing and regular meeting. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Excuse me one second, Councilman. The minutes were provided in your packet. Is there any public discussion on the minutes? Is there any council discussion?
Question.
District 1? Yes. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yay.
At large?
Yay.
Motion carries.
I'd like to introduce Ms. Donna Renigan, who is a candidate for Family Law Judge Division M. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time this evening to speak with you. As the Mayor said, my name is Donna Reniger. Donna like Mona, Reniger like vinegar. Help you remember it. And I'm running to be your next family court judge in the 15th Judicial District. I'm currently a partner at Vise, Felder, and Reniger, and I'm a recent past president of the Louisiana State Bar Association. And I've spent the majority of my career, actual life, in service. And I believe that the family court is the next place I'm called to serve and where I'm most qualified to serve. Most people ask why family law. This seat is a voluntary seat designated for family law only. So whoever runs for it voluntarily agrees to just hear those cases. And the reason I chose it is my journey through law school. I'm probably one of the few people that went to law school and thought they knew what they wanted to do. I was going to be an insurance defense attorney. I worked for those firms in the summer. And my senior year, I discovered something called civil legal aid, which is where you represent individuals who cannot afford lawyers on their own. And in my time in court with those individuals, it left an impression on me how important it is to have an impartial family court judge. I ended up turning down some offers from those law firms I'd worked for, and I substitute taught in the schools in Jefferson Parish for 6 months until I could find a job in civil legal aid. And I was fortunate enough to represent victims of domestic abuse for a few years in Alexandria. After that, I moved my practice here to Lafayette, Acadiana Legal Services, where I had a more expanded family law practice: divorce, custody, child support, adoption. And then after a few years of that, I moved to a general civil practice, always keeping family law in place. And that first impression stuck with me, and I'm running today on 4 basic tenets. Number 1, I want to make sure every single person and attorney that enters my courtroom is treated with respect. It's critical. Number 2, I want to put Acadiana's children first, always. Number 3, any family member who enters my court will be treated with respect. That's whether your mom, dad, auntie, grandma, whoever's in there is going to be treated with respect. 4th, and finally, there will be no legislating from the bench on my part. There are 3 branches of government. The judicial is the one that's supposed to apply the laws, not decide them. You're not even supposed to know if I like a law or not. If you have an issue with the law I'm applying, then we need to travel down to Baton Rouge on I-10 and talk to the legislature about it. So there will be no legislating from the bench. Finally, I wanted to say that in the 28 years I've been practicing family law, I've developed an expertise in this area, and I'm excited about the opportunity to serve. I've been in Acadiana now since 1994. Couldn't wait to get back. I went to college here. And I've stood next to most of you and contributed my time to the university and to all the organizations in this town. I'm looking forward to serving as your next family law judge. I have some cards I'm going to leave for you on the table for any of your citizens that may like them. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. I also have a website, so if you want to talk to me in a more private setting, donareniger.com. Happy to answer any questions now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. So we have another guest here tonight, Mr. Kip Judice, candidate for City Marshal. I believe Kip is also the Chief of Police in the fine city of Dusseldorf. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I am the current police chief in the town of Dusseldorf and a candidate for Lafayette City Marshal on the November ballot. And so none of you are going to be able to vote for me as residents of the city of Broussard. This is a city of Lafayette ballot. But I did want to come out. Many of you have contacts in the city of Lafayette. Many of your business people reside in the city of Lafayette. So I wanted to take the opportunity to come and introduce myself. I know many of you personally already, and I think you know my work ethic, you know my work product. I would say this, that the city marshal in Lafayette, though he does not provide a direct service to the city of Broussard, can be of assistance here. Through disaster issues, we can provide support for the city of Broussard. I have an extremely close working relationship with your chief, as I do with all the police chiefs in the parish. So I'm very proud of that. I think that we work well hand in hand together, and that would continue and strengthen as once I'm marshal. The other thing that I want to do is some of the things, my platform issues include text alerting people in advance of court dates. You'll hear from your police chief that one of the worst issues we have is getting people to come to city court to take care of their issues. And most of the time when you find out, they forgot about it. They'll may call a week late or 2 weeks late. We want to institute a text alert system in advance of your court date to remind you you have court. I think it's going to work beautifully. I really do. The city LCG already owns the texting system. It's an emergency texting system, but we can actually modify it to do what I want to do at no additional cost. And if it's as successful as I believe it will be, I will be reaching out to Chief Deku and the other chiefs to offer that same service from the city marshal's office for your courts so that you can get the people in to get your revenue. Just like Broussard City Court, the Lafayette City Court deals with misdemeanors and traffic offenders. Currently, if they fail to show up in court, and I'm just going to throw a scenario real quickly out there, a man forgets to put his seatbelt on, and he's pulled over by a city policeman and gets a seatbelt ticket. Hustle and bustle of the world, he forgets to show up in court. A warrant is issued for that man's arrest because he did not have a seatbelt on. Now listen, folks, we've all heard from the sheriff, we've all heard from the parish president, the cost of incarceration is unbelievable. So we just took a $100 fine for no seatbelt, and now we've gone into debt because we got to hold this guy for 2 or 3 days in jail till city judge has a hearing for him. We've flipped the whole thing, the whole purpose of this guy paying a debt to the city for not following the law has become a debt to the people. What my program would request from the city court judge is, do not issue a warrant for his arrest. Give me an instanter, which means I go pick him up and I bring him right now to the judge. I would ask the judge then to impose a 4 or 8 hour community service sentence for contempt of court for not being in court, as opposed to any jail time. We will go out and cut grass, we'll pick up trash. If they're not capable of that, we're gonna find us a nonprofit that we can file papers at. But we're not gonna incarcerate someone for a seatbelt ticket. That's not what jails are for, and we're spending tons of money on this today. Right now, there are people in jail on city court charges. Ridiculous. We can fix that. The second thing is, let's just say that same guy that didn't wear a seatbelt, we pick him up and he's got a tooth infection. Well, it's cruel and unusual punishment not to get that man treatment, but it's on our back. Now we have to pay for his dental appointment or his kidney treatment or whatever the case may be because he didn't put a seatbelt on, folks. We can do better. I've got a good plan. Like I said, once we institute some of the things and we see success, I will be reaching out to the chiefs and asking the chiefs if they want to be part of it. And if they do, we're on board 100%. You can count on me as your city marshal in Lafayette to provide support when Broussard's in need. If there's a disaster, an emergency situation or something, we're coming. The chief only needs to call, and I think he knows that. The chief has done it for me, and I'll do it for him. I thank you all for your time. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I think that's kind of the platform in a nutshell. Good? God bless all y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kip.
Thank you, Kip. We have one more special guest tonight. I'd like to introduce Miss Michelle Beal. She's running for District Court Judge Division K. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you all for letting me step in today. We had a little confusion on all the scheduling, and so I really appreciate you all accommodating me and letting me be on today's agenda, even though I wasn't on it originally. My name again is Michelle Bio. I'm running for District Court Judge, Division K. That is the seat currently held by Patrick Michaud. He's going to be retiring at the end of this term, so it's an open seat. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I am an assistant district attorney here in Lafayette Parish. I have been with the office now going on 20 years. During the course of that 20 years, I have prosecuted and convicted some of Lafayette's most violent offenders. And I am the lead felony prosecutor in Track 4. That means I handle cases ranging from felony theft to first-degree murder and everything in between. But I started my career in New Orleans at the district attorney's office there. As you can well imagine, the criminal courts in New Orleans are very busy. I gained a lot of experience there, both as a trial, putting on trials, as well as just being in the courtroom. So I got a lot of experience there. I also met my husband there. My husband's Lawrence Bio. He's an attorney here in town. He goes by the nickname Moose. Some of you may know Moose. But he is Millie and Bozo Bio's 12th child out of their 17 children. So he, born and raised here, he suggested, let's come back to Lafayette, raise our family here. One of the best decisions we've ever made. It's a wonderful place to raise our families, as we all know, and it's home. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. So when I first got here, I went to work in the civil arena. I went into private practice. I practiced in the areas of family law and employment law litigation. I also went to work for the public defender's office. And because of the extensive experience that I had already gained in Orleans Parish, they put me in the position of section chief, which means that I was in charge of all the full-time public defenders, and I also carried a caseload of my own representing clients. So I also had the privilege of representing that office as one of the founding members of the drug court program. And that's something I'm particularly proud of because I think it's a really valuable program for our communities. Any time that you can rehabilitate someone rather than incarcerate them, I think that is a value to that person, but it's also a value to our community. When elected, I would like to piggyback on the success of that specialty court. It's still up and running 20 years later. And I'd like to further implement a veterans court and a mental health court. The men and women who have sacrificed and served for us and come back and lose their way, I think it's only right that we do something to try to help them find themselves on the right path again. So I would really like to work on that. Mental health court. We have a lot of nonviolent offenders that come through the court system. And they don't really need to be incarcerated. So I would really like to be able to work with the mental health agencies to try to work out some kind of a program where we could try to get them help, keep them out of our courts as well, and out of our jails, and keep our jails and prisons free for those truly violent offenders that need to be there. So I have been a practicing attorney now for 26 years. Throughout those 26 years, I have always been involved in public service of one form or another. It is what I find the most fulfilling, and I think it's really important work, and I want to continue to do that. That's why I'm running for judge. I want to take all the experience that I've gained throughout these years in the courtrooms, practicing in district court, because that's where I have been for the entire 26 years, is in district court, which is the seat I'm running for. And I want to put it to work for our community. I promise if I'm elected that I will be a judge that is accessible to everyone. I promise that I would be respectful. As Ms. Reniger stated, it is very important, and I think respect is important to be given to everyone who comes in the courtroom, not just for the judge to receive respect. I promise that I'll be prepared. I don't go into court now unprepared ever. That's just not how I work, and that will not change if I'm on the bench. I promise that I will read all of the briefs that are filed. I will do my own research. I will follow the law as written. I will not legislate from the bench as well. I will not be an activist judge. I can tell you that I will always listen, and what is most important, what we all want, is I will be fair. We all want a judge who is going to listen to all sides of the case, reach a fact-driven, objective decision, and that's how I plan to be as a judge. So I thank you for your time. If anyone has any questions, I would be glad to answer those. I did hand out some literature. We have a phone number on that literature. If anyone has a question, please reach out to us. We will answer that phone call, and if we don't answer, we promise we will call you right back as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. And Mayor, thank you again.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. Resolutions. Item 4.1, adopt resolution number 636-20, a resolution authorizing city officials employees to sign the request for payment forms in connection with the FY 2020 Community Block Development Grant Program for Sewer System Improvement Project. Do we have a motion to adopt?
I move to adopt.
Second.
This particular resolution is the final adoption for an item that we previously had on a council meeting. It's a development block grant that Walter is handling for us. We need authority to sign the final set of paperwork for it and continue with the grant. So is there any public comment? Is there any council discussion?
Question.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District 1. Yes. Motion carries.
Item 4.2, adopt resolution number 637-20, a resolution granting variance requests to sign ordinance sections 50-4, number 13, political and election campaign signs. Do we have a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Delahousie called me a week or so ago to discuss this topic. Basically, during the season we are in COVID, there are a lot of restrictions on the people running for election right now. And has been some discussion about loosening the sign ordinance temporarily for this one election to allow them a little more latitude in being able to move the date forward to start campaigning, because door-to-door is out of the question, as we all know right now. It would not be a safe practice to have. But Councilman Delahousie, I'm sure, has comments on the item. He discussed it with me last week, and please, Council.
Yes, with our current situation, I just feel that if we allow them to put the signs up now versus 60 days prior to the election, we give them more campaigning time. But we also just kind of discussed, this is just an idea to throw out there, if we may want to potentially change this going forward, maybe use it as qualifying day. That'll give us give a candidate at least 90 days to put a sign up, to be able to campaign. That way we have a set date being qualifying date. I'd like to make it permanent.
This is a resolution. I don't think we could do it tonight. We would need an ordinance, a permanent ordinance, a vote to change the ordinance. Yes, an amendment to the original ordinance. This particular resolution would just be for this election. But it is certainly something that Don can help us draft and bring it to the council. That sign ordinance hasn't been looked at in a while, and it may be time for a refresher. We did a little bit of research. Normally, every city does it different, and parishes have their own set of rules. But in the city of Broussard, Currently, we allow 60 days before the date of the election. Many cities or parishes go to the 90-day rule, or they even use the rule of so many days around qualifying. So there's different ways we can do it, but we can certainly draft something for the council to discuss at the next meeting or a meeting coming up soon. But this particular resolution would be for allowing signs, political signs to be put up in the city of Broussard now and not wait to the 60 days prior to election date.
If we,
Around that time, Ken.
90 and some change.
Is there any public comment?
This is just for this particular election?
Yes, sir.
I'm interested in looking at the ordinance and putting an amendment on it, rewriting it.
I will have it brought back to you at an upcoming meeting, sir. Is there any public comment on this topic? Any further council discussion?
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large. District 1, District 2,
Yes.
motion carries.
So if I understand the variance correctly, Don, starting tomorrow, signs, political signs for this particular election will be allowed.
Actually, they came out this evening and thought it was, kind of going out, I usually 14th day of the day in the resolution that Joe asked me.
Okay, so,
This day forward.
thank you. Item 5.1, introduce ordinance number 20-650, an ordinance of the city of Broussard annexing certain properties located in section 40 and 68, township 10 South, range 5 East, Lafayette Parish, LA, known as the city of Broussard, West Pinhook Road Annexation, District 2. Do we have a motion to introduce? So an explanation on this introductory ordinance is the city of Broussard owns a 4-acre tract of land. There's a map provided in your packet. At the corner of the currently being constructed South Bernard Road and Pinhook. The road is being constructed on that piece of property as we speak. We own it. The city owns it, but it is still parish. It is not annexed into our city. So several years ago, the city bought that piece of property with intentions of building Bernard Road. We will own the traffic light that is built there, but we need to annex the property around it, and the same is going to hold true for our next item. So with the council's approval, we'll be able to proceed with the annexation of our own property. Any public discussion?
Mayor, I just want to, this is something we're handling, and the next two relate to this. This is for property owned by the city. The next one is for properties that the owners have already signed, but we have some others coming. We're waiting on signatures.
Thank you, Walter.
I don't know if that's in or out, but there's some additional properties we're working on that we'll be bringing to you guys to introduce.
Is there any council discussion?
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large.
Yay.
District 1, District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 5.2, introduce ordinance number 20-651, an ordinance of the city of Broussard annexing certain properties located in section 60, 29, and 208, township 10 South, range 5 East, Lafayette Parish, LA, known as the city of Broussard, South Bernard Road Annexation, District 1. Do we have a motion to introduce? Again, this is a same situation. This is right-of-ways that were bought around the cat-a-corner to the property we just mentioned. The map's in the packet, right near the daycare that exists on one of those corners. Is there any public discussion? Is there any council discussion?
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District 1, District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 5.3, introduce ordinance number 20-652, an ordinance of the City of Broussard authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Parish of Lafayette for operation and maintenance of Arsenal Park. Do we have a motion to introduce?
Make a motion.
And a second? So in your packet is provided the intergovernmental agreement that Don has worked on for our office, along with the attorneys at LCG. I think we've come to an IGA that we're comfortable with. It's been supplied to the council for your review. There have been a couple of questions. Certainly, the city of Broussard has the intent of taking over operational capacity of Arsenal Park as part of our downtown redevelopment plan and our master plan for downtown Broussard, and LCG seems to be in favor of us doing that as written in our ordinance, in the IGA. The few questions that came across my desk were, will we be able to do the things that we see fit as long as it stays a park? And the answer to that question is yes. That property must always remain a public space as a park. That property was bought originally through money granted to LCG by the National Recreation Department, I believe. And it is in that grant writing that property must always stay a park. So that has always been the intent for the city of Broussard, but without the council's approval, we can move no further along with our agreement from LCG. Is there any public discussion on this topic?
Mayor, you think with the acquisition of this, we use that same maintenance crew we currently have, or you have to hire more maintenance people?
Mel and I have had those discussions. Since we no longer have the ability to have the Lafayette Parish prisoners crews working for the city of Broussard, we are in the same position as many other cities in our parish. I've talked to all the mayors about this, and it has slowed down the ability for us to be able to keep up with as much grass and trash picking up, that sort of thing. But if you remember, the council did approve Mel to hire 2 additional personnel for our grass cutting crew in the last budget, or 2 budgets back, which he has done, and they have done a fine job of keeping up with it. Our intent is to, between park maintenance crew and public works maintenance crew, be able to handle the overall needs to maintain the park. And there are some opportunities potentially with the new sheriff in St. Martinville that we may be able to use the same sort of resources through his department. Councilman Delahousie has been working that angle for the city, and it seems to be positive, but we need to give the new sheriff a little time.
Correct. I spoke to him today. He said just give him a little time, and he'll get back with us. But he's definitely interested in doing something.
How many acres is that park? Anybody know?
Park's approximately 18 acres.
That's it?
That's it. Beautiful land there. And I think we can do a lot for our citizens and for the public in general with a little bit of care and love and investment into that park. It can really be good for our city and the people that are ready to use the park. Any further council discussion?
District 6,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District 1, District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
motion carries.
Before we adjourn, I wanted to take a minute to have a new member of our fire department to take a minute to introduce them to you. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Ember. As you can see, Ember is a Dalmatian, and she was donated to the Broussard Fire Department by Mr. Chad Monceau, who is a 20-year veteran with the Crowley Fire Department. Ember will be a year old on the 25th of this month, and she is trained to be a service animal for children who are experiencing trauma at the scenes of fires and other tragedies. Dalmatians have had a long history of working with fire departments and have been especially bred as protectors as well as not to be sensitive to loud noises, bright lights, or to fires. We'd like to thank Mr. Monceau for your gift and your generous donation. And Amber, welcome to Broussard. Item 6.1, adjourn our meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion?
Second.
At large,
Yay.
District 1? Yes. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yay.
Motion carries, meeting adjourned.